Let's go to Canberra now. Our political editor Andrew Clennell joins us. Busy weekend for you, Andrew. It's a final sitting week before the May budget too, but there could be a boost to rental assistance on the way. Tell us more about this.
I absolutely think this is the case, Laura. We had the economist Chris Richardson on the program Politics Now last week, and I asked him, what could the government do that's non-inflationary in terms of cost of living relief? And the most obvious thing to him was rental assistance. The Treasurer and PM have made clear there will be cost of living relief in the budget, may well there be after that news poll result this morning, but they don't want it to fuel inflation. They say the tax cuts are already there, but rental assistance for pensioners, low-income earners and the welfare recipients is something, with the sharp rise in rents, that the government most likely will do, I believe, also with the homelessness problem we're seeing at the moment. And Housing Minister Julie Collins went nowhere near denying this was the case on Sunday Agenda yesterday.
We are working across governments, state and territory governments, to provide a better deal and some national consistency for renters.
Could there be another rise in rental assistance, though?
Look, Andrew, I know you'd like me to tell you what's in the budget. We're still going through the processes of our budget preparation. What I would say to you is that we're always looking at about how we can improve cost of living for Australians. We need to do it in a way that doesn't add to inflation. We need to do it in a measured way. What you saw from us last time was targeted support through an increase in the Commonwealth rent assistance that I know that many Australians are saying was of enormous assistance, and indeed the RBA said it helped put downward pressure on inflation.
Yeah, we're at the stage of the political cycle where we can guess, and we're getting indications of what might be in the budget, but no one wants to confirm. Andrew, also interesting to see a Labor MP having a bit of a crack here at Coles and Woolies.
Yeah, so we've got this bill coming before the Parliament from the Greens, which would force Coles and Woolworths to divest some of their stores. I don't think the government in particular is going to come at that, or the opposition for that matter, but Andrew Charlton, the Parramatta Labor MP, was on the program with me yesterday, having a real hard crack at Coles and Woolworths and insisting the government's approach of an ACCC inquiry and a review of the Grocery Code of Conduct can make a difference when it comes to grocery prices in this country. Andrew Charlton, a former economic advisor to Kevin Rudd when he was PM, says we've got a real problem here with this duopoly.
Australians pay 54% more than the world average for food, and that's been established by a number of sources. And what that means is if something costs $10 in another country, Australians might be paying $15 for it. And Australians are entitled to ask why. Why, when we're a nation that produces so much food, are we being charged such high prices? The executives of the big companies that deliver food into Australia refer to Australia as Treasure Island. They call it a place where you can charge higher prices and make bigger profits than other countries around the world.
Yeah, you're right. That was quite a crack. And he's not just any old backbench Labor MP, he's a respected economist as well. Look, Andrew, as I mentioned, a reference, you've had a very busy weekend, all talking Tassie. A stunning result, really. The negotiations begin. What's your take on it? And are there federal implications here or no?
I think if there are federal implications, it shows that it's not going to be easy for Labor to pick up seats there. They were hoping to pick up at least one seat there to offset losses elsewhere, and they obviously need to retain the seat of Lyons as well to hang on to majority government. But the other lesson is just the discontent with both sides of politics, despite the stage 3 tax cuts, despite the fact the Liberal government was on the nose, Laura, and such a large vote for the minor parties. I think it points towards more of that, again, at a federal level. We've had that really, apart from the 2013 election, since 2007. You've either had governments just falling over the line in majority with 76 or 77 seats, or that minority result in 2010. Now, there was kind of bizarre scenes with both leaders claiming a potential victory on Saturday night before, obviously, the Labor elders spoke to Rebecca White and said, look, you're only going to win about 10 or 11 seats in the 35-seat parliament. You can't go into coalition with 5 or 6 Greens. and form government. That's not going to work. And I think that's a sign too, federally. There's no way that Anthony Albanese is going to do a deal with the Greens unless he absolutely has to in a minority situation here. He's much more likely to get the Teals and Bob Katter and other independents on board. But this was Helen Polley, the senator, who called it right Saturday night. She looked like she didn't know what Tasmanian Labor and Beck White were doing. But it turns out she was on the right track in saying, just concede now, because that's what happened a day later. Here's the senator.
I don't think she's going to concede defeat. There's still too many votes to come in. I would be doing something very different myself. I'd be making it very clear that I'd lost, because I would not, and I don't believe the Labor Party will go into any coalition. Well, it's a disaster. It's the lowest vote that the Labor Party's had. It's time for us to look to the future.
Helen Polley calling it right in the Sky News panel on Saturday night, Laura. Jacqui Lambie had some interesting comments on that panel as well. She really had a crack at the Premier, but no doubt he's going to need her MPs for confidence and supply. But she mentions here too, this vote that goes not to the major parties. We've seen that in the news poll again today. The Greens vote down there was 14%. OK, it's Tasmania. But there are massive opportunities there, and I don't see many of this crossbench getting knocked off with where politics is at the moment. And that was a point Jacqui Lambie made about the federal election on Saturday night.
Unless they start telling the truth, they start doing truth in political advertising, they start doing something about political donations, even on the federal scale for the next federal election, you are going to see more Lambies and more Teals up there. There is no doubt about that. This is what people want. It's 21st century, 24-hour news cycle, all that social media up there. It's about time they started putting our values back into our Australian way of life, and that's what people want to see.
Yeah, she was all guns blazing on Saturday night. I thought she was a little bit more tempered this morning. It must be because she started those negotiations. What do you think?
Yes, absolutely, no doubt about it. And this is, look, an old political editor told me when I was starting out in political reporting, and this is always important to remember. He said, listen, son, politics isn't black and white. And that is absolutely, he's passed now actually, Mick Millett, but he's absolutely right. I've seen that so many times. You'll see it with Kevin Rudd and Donald Trump. They'll end up getting on, I reckon. Yeah. You see it here with Jacqui Lambie. Jeremy Rockliff's the worst person in the world. He doesn't want the job. Suddenly her MPs and Jacqui are negotiating with him. Never take anything that happens or any relationship in politics as being set in stone, Laura.
Yep, because why? He probably said this to you as well, because it all comes down to self-interest.
No doubt about that.
Andrew, great to see you. We'll check in soon.